Good morning and welcome to today's Return to Campus Town Hall webinar. My name is Dr. Brian Hamlick and I serve as the Associate Dean of Students and Director of Administration here at the University of Pittsburgh. Today, I am pleased to facilitate a session with key leaders on campus and in the medical field covering important service areas of housing and move-in, dining services, academic affairs, new student programs and Welcome Week, campus recreation, student health service, and COVID-19 topics. We will start with each panelist giving a brief overview of the key current topics from their areas, and then we will have time to take some questions. If you have questions for any of our panelists, please utilize the Q&A function located at the bottom of your screen. For the purpose of this session, we ask that you please keep your questions broad in nature so that all participants can benefit. If you have an individual, specific, or nuanced question, we will be providing contact information for all of our key areas at the end of the session. With that housekeeping information taken care of, let's get started with our first panelist to provide some information about housing and move-in. Kathleen Kyle, our Director of Housing and Panther Central. Kathleen, over to you.
Good morning, everybody. Hope that you're all doing well on this Monday morning. We are busy getting ready for the first day of arrival tomorrow. We are very excited to welcome back our first large cohort of students tomorrow. A couple of updates about arrival, we'll start there, is that we have spread out arrival, as many of you know, to try to increase our ability to ensure health and safety of all of our students and staff during that process. So I know some of you, this is your first time participating in arrival. I always find parents who say they moved in their child a couple of years ago or maybe on a different campus. So this will be a little bit different in terms of our arrival process. We won't be able to enjoy as much of the social interactions, but again, we are really hoping to have the health and safety pieces in place. You'll be able to see a lot of signage everywhere. We've printed over 14,000 signs to try to help guide folks in terms of where to stand, what directions to follow, how to get where you're going. So you will see that all over campus. There will be plenty of folks in Pitt t-shirts and polos directing traffic, helping you know where to park. We do really encourage you to do your best to follow the instructions you've already been given in terms of arrival dates and times. That's really going to help us have a smooth arrival process as well. I know a lot of folks have been asked questions about, we are asking only one helper at a time to assist our students. And we know that that can be taxing for you all as well. Everyone wants to enjoy and see the room. Just please know that we need to have one helper going up and down with our students. Feel free to spend time with your students on campus afterwards. Hopefully weather will hold. It's looking pretty promising, at least for these next couple of days. So take full advantage of all of our outdoor spaces on campus and some photo opportunities as you're able to. So we are excited about that. We have already addressed a lot of questions about hotels, but we are using 3 hotels across campus. They will have all of the parking measures in place there, signage. When you arrive, if you're staying in a hotel, when you arrive there, it will feel just as if you were arriving at a Pitt building. All of the signage, everything that you would find in a residence hall, you would find at one of those hotels. And if you have participated in Ship to Pitt, we've had over 14,000 labels generated for Ship to Pitt. So our staff have been delivering packages feverishly, and so we hope everything goes smoothly there. If you run into any trouble with your Ship to Pitt, please feel free to contact the mailroom or visit the Towers mailroom once you're on campus, okay? A couple of things about health and safety. Cleaning, just know that we have, for all of our common area bathrooms in our residence halls, they will be cleaned twice a day instead of just once a day moving forward. There is a lot of signage in those bathrooms. You'll also find that we've updated our facilities with automated flushing toilets, automated sinks, those types of things. So hopefully you will find those things to be helpful for you in your stay with us. You'll also find that if you have a private bathroom, you will have what we're calling a Pitt Shines bucket ready for you, and that will have cleaning supplies in it to help you keep your bathrooms clean and ready to go. Know that with work orders, more information you'll find in your rooms about if you do find that you need a light bulb replaced, there's something wrong with your window, something's wrong with furniture in your room, and you need to submit a work order, know that we've increased our safety precautions with that, and making sure that if you put in the work order, that when one of our staff members comes to address the issue in your room, they will be wearing a mask. We will ask that you will be wearing a mask if you're present, and they will disinfect everything before they begin, and then when they are finished with that work order as well. At this time, unfortunately, lounges, community kitchens, residence hall fitness centers will be closed to start the beginning of the year. We will continue to assess which posture we are in, depending on the safety of all of our community members. So just look for more information coming on those, as well as our guest policy. We will not be having any outside guests into the residence halls at the beginning of the school year. Please pay attention to elevator guidelines. That's really important as we move forward. Please stick to those. I know it's really tempting when the elevator door opens and you're with one other person, and it's really tempting just to squeeze both of you on, but we're really asking you to adhere to those guidelines as much as possible. And then we just ask you to please continue to physical distance as we are requiring, wash your hands, wear your mask, and take good care of one another. We will again have staff all over campus when you arrive to answer your questions for you. And if you need anything, don't hesitate to reach out. I'm going to end there and wait for questions later, but thank you very much for your time.
Thanks so much, Kathleen. And going in partnership with our housing, I'd like to introduce Joe Beeman, our Director of Dining Services.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to Pitt. Excited to talk through, what we are looking for, expecting at the first couple of weeks and then throughout the semester. So my name's Joe Beeman. I'm the Director of Dining Services. And what we've done with our dining plan is really look at our best efforts of de-densifying our areas. So as Kathleen had mentioned, we have numerous signs. Over 14,000 have been printed. But what we're doing with the dining halls is we are maintaining our social distancing practices. We're also opening 2 brand new dining halls this year to our program as a temporary locations to make sure that we're keeping these safe distances. So one of them is called the Hub at Posvar Patio. It's an outdoor covered dining area that has 2 completely separate locations, within our area on campus. So what we're going to be doing here is for the first 3 weeks of campus up through September 4th, all of our meals are going to be served to go. You heard Kathleen talk about risk postures. It's something that you're going to hear over and over again, and that you've already had the opportunity to read up on. But what we're doing while you're in the self-quarantining phase of returning to campus is we're going to be doing all of our meals to go, both in our retail dining as well as our residential dining. Now, what we've done is we've changed our meal plans a little bit this year. This will help students to be able to de-densify more appropriately. So not only do the students have the opportunity to get their dining hall, their resident meal plan meals to go at either the Eatery, formerly known as Market Central, the Perch, the brand new Hub at Posvar. And for those of you who have students living up in the Residence Inn on Bigelow, we're also opening a dining hall there. So you'll be able to get these meals to go, but you're also going to be able to use what we're calling a meal exchange. So one of your meals for every one of our residential plans are going to be able to be used at any one of our dining outlets. So this could be Taco Bell, Chick-fil-A, our new Fort Pitt subs. You can see on our website, if you go to dineoncampus.com/Pitt, it has a number of informative pieces for you that you can look at, including a welcome week schedule with a map of different locations of where we would recommend you going. Now, when you go to Dine on Campus, you'll be able to see that we have recommended that you filter your students to one of the dining halls that's based on where you live. What we've done is we looked at all of our de-densifying efforts and said, hey, this is, if you live in Forbes Hall, for example, we recommend that the Hub on Posvar is where you'd go. Now, if you live in Towers A, the Eatery at Market Central. So we're really excited about rolling out this new program, even amidst the pandemic. What we've also done is with our new dining plans is we have our dining dollar program where we've partnered with local businesses in the area, local restaurants, and 25% of all the dining dollars that are in use can be used at these local restaurants on Forbes Avenue within Oakland. So that list is going to be published later today so that you'll be able to see where your student can use any of their dining dollars. As far as personal protective equipment, masks, gloves, all of the Compass team has been thoroughly trained in COVID preparation. You're going to see a number of plexiglass barriers have been installed throughout all of our dining facilities on campus. You're going to see, again, floor signs, and there are going to be recommended times, recommended areas where people can go so that we can maintain our safe distancing. So I am going to pass this on. What we've seen on these is we have a number of individual questions as related to some of our areas. So I'll be happy to answer those as they come up.
That's great. Thanks so much, Joe. And now to give us an overview on our approach to academic affairs, I'd like to introduce Dr. Julia Spears, our Associate Vice Provost for Academic Innovation. Julia?
Great, thanks, Brian. So I'm here to represent the Office of the Provost, and I wanted to share with you some most common questions that we're getting in regards to just the academics and getting everyone back in the classroom. So first, I wanted to talk to you a little bit about Flex at Pitt. So Flex at Pitt has a lot of options, and I think for some, it's a little bit confusing. So we made an infographic that actually is going to get released today in a Pittwire story, and I'm going to talk a little bit about a couple of announcements that are coming out today. So for a minute, let me share my screen. 1 moment. Is that working? Yes? You want to see it? Okay, awesome. So let me walk you through what this looks like. For as you know, we're in guarded. Well, this infographic is for guarded wrist posture, and the Flex at Pitt. Right now, sorry, excuse me, so sorry. Some key highlights. With Flex at Pitt, you're going to have interpersonal discussions and essential learning. I can't even, I'm sorry, my computer is blocking this. Okay, sorry, here we go. One more time. So there are 3 different cohorts in the Flex at Pitt posture. The full cohort is where all students come into the classroom. About 60% of the classes are in this particular posture. Most classes will be employed here. There's a guarded or a rotated cohort classroom. This is where some students are going to alternate. So for some of your classes, the classroom does not hold enough space for you to appropriately social distance. So you're going to have to alternate when you come into the classroom. And for others, the last one is all students will be remote. This is where very large classrooms will be fully remote. And for some of those classrooms, your lab will be, I'm sorry. Okay. I don't know why I'm nervous today. Your lab will be remote or has the option to be remote. The point that I want you to make is that, the point that I'm trying to make is that all students can choose. On a daily basis, they can choose whether or not they want to go to class remote or in person. That said, we are right now in the elevated risk operational postures where almost all classes are fully online. This infographic is on our website. It's at provost.pitt.edu. /students. To our freshman students, we want you to know that you can take all of your classes online if you want to. For lower level labs, we have remote and in-person options. For our nursing and other majors who require clinicals or lab experiences, you know that some labs are needed to be experienced in person. You can also offer, we only offer these, I'm so sorry. Come back to me.
Okay, we are going to move over to Breanne Donahue, who is our interim director of new student programs, who's going to talk about our different approach to Welcome Week this year. Breanne?
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on where you are in the world. So Welcome Week is going to be virtual. So no matter where you are, you can participate. So whether you're at home, you're in your residence hall, or in the car on the way to campus, you'll be able to tune in and get all of the important information, or participate in fun social events to meet new students. That is all going to be done virtually. It's a mix of synchronous and asynchronous events. So some of them will be live, some will be pre-recorded, but we are offering over 55 virtual events, and they're going to take place throughout the entire arrival period. So you'll see some events as early as August 12th, and you'll see some events as late as August 22nd, 23rd. A great resource, we'll be sending out some additional communications tomorrow. We sent some from the new student programs office already, but you'll find a lot of our events on the university events calendar. The short link is pi.tt/WW20. Again, that's pi.tt/WW20. Also on our new student programs website, you'll see descriptions of events, lists of events there. And again, some communications will be coming out over the next day or two as well. Some of those social events that our first year mentors or upperclassmen mentors that are planning do have some registration required, so students can have supplies and we can plan for those events, those social events. So keep an eye out for registration links on that website that I gave you, and in those email communications as well. 6 events are required of those 55 that students want to make sure they are tuned into. Those required events are our health and safety at Pitt. That's going to be Sunday evening at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Families are welcome to tune in, of course, to these required events as well. That will go over health and safety at Pitt. We're going to start off there. Also, and then moving into Monday, we're going to have our Building a Pitt Community. That's our diversity, equity, and inclusion program, a very engaging program. That's going to be Monday, 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Also on Monday, we're going to have our residence hall building-wide and floor meetings. That's for our on-campus and hotel students only. If you're a transfer student or a commuter student, we'll have some programming during that time as well for you. But again, that's going to be on Monday at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Fourthly, our academic meetings are also on Tuesday, 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. You'll meet with the Academic Advising Center of the school to which you are admitted to go over any last minute course registration, enrollment, questions that you may have. Fourthly, or am I on 5? Maybe 5. The tipping point is our presentation on public safety, on campus, sexual assault prevention, substance awareness. That is going to be Tuesday at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And the last required event to keep an eye out is our new student welcome and our Why We Hail to Pitt program. That's with our chancellor, our provost, our dean of students, officially welcoming new students and families to the fall 2020 or class of 2024 year. And we're covering a lot of Pitt traditions in that session as well. You'll see it here from a lot of student leaders as well. So again, keep an eye out to your email and communication, visit that website. If you have any questions, again, please just let me know.
Thanks so much, Breanne. To give us some information about how we are going to be approaching campus recreation and fitness on campus, I'd like to turn it over to Jill Krantz. Jill?
Thank you, Brian, and hello, everyone. I'm here to share a little bit about how campus recreation will help support everyone's fitness and wellness goals this fall. As many of you know, our facilities are highly utilized by students, faculty, and staff. So our goal has really been to look at how can we offer as many programs and services while still falling in line with the health and safety guidelines. So today I'm going to answer some of the most common questions we've been hearing about campus recreation and what will be different. So first of all, the facilities will be open and will offer a variety of programs, and it will vary depending upon what the posture the university is in. First, the most important thing is to be aware that following the shelter in place period, we'll be opening on modified schedules and we'll have in-person and virtual programs available. We're currently finalizing those offerings and the hours, and we'll post them on our website and share them on social media as soon as they're available. One of the key significant changes that you'll see this fall will be the need to make a reservation to come in and use our facilities or to participate in a program. And the key reason for that is that we know we have to follow these social distancing guidelines and occupancy limits. And as many of you know, there's a lot of demand for our spaces. From a physical standpoint, a few of the changes that you'll see are much like many places you've been going. You'll see plexiglass at our check-in desks and people will swipe their own IDs. One of the other major changes that you'll see is that we've spread out our equipment in our spaces, and some equipment will be marked off so that, for instance, you can adhere to social distancing by having spaces between one person working out and the other. Our locker rooms will be open, and one of the things we'll be asking is that encouraging people to do is to come dressed to work out. Our locker rooms are pretty tight on space, and it would be very helpful if people would come with their clothes ready to go and work out. From a programming standpoint, we're going to offer a variety of intramural sports, everything from kickball, dodgeball, volleyball, and esports as well. And these sports were really selected very specifically to help us ensure physical distancing and minimize personal contact. As far as club sports go, we'll be asking the clubs to follow all the university guidelines, as well as any of those that their national governing bodies issue. We'll know more about what to expect for practices and competitions in the next several days, I anticipate. From a standpoint of group exercise, we're excited to continue offering group virtual programming like we have this summer, some on our own and some in collaboration with BFit Pitt. And we'll also, of course, be offering in-person classes, with both the virtual and in-person classes all being free to participants. From an overall health and safety standpoint, our staff will be wearing face coverings, and we'll soon know if people working out will need to be wearing them as well. We'll also be cleaning our high-touch spaces frequently throughout the day, and there'll be deep cleaning overnight to help ensure that everyone is safe and clean in using the spaces. And just as important as all of the work that we'll be doing is the help that everyone else can provide in wiping down equipment before you use it and after we use it. We're just asking everyone to take a lot of personal responsibility from this standpoint to help us. A lot of things will be the same, just like they always are. We're looking forward to everyone coming back on campus, and we're here to help meet your fitness and wellness goals. And we're also looking forward to encouraging you to use spaces outside. There's a lot of wonderful activities you can do in and around the area to stay safe and also get some exercise. Lastly, as I would just, much like everyone else, say we really are looking forward to this semester, but we realize we're going to ask a lot about your flexibility. And as always, we hope that you will keep in touch with us and connect if you've got questions or concerns that come up, because we know we'll be making changes and meeting everyone's flexibility. Thanks, Brian.
Great. Thanks so much, Jill. We always get some questions about our approach to medical care on campus and what we have to offer in our student health services. So I'd like to turn it over to Marion Vanek, our Executive Director of the Wellness Center and Director of Student Health Services. Marion?
Thank you, Brian. Good morning, everybody. As the director of the Wellness Center, I'm very pleased to provide you with information about the services we provide, as well as some of the recent changes we implemented at the Wellness Center to best serve your needs during these rather challenging times. The Wellness Center is an integrated health service that consists of a very large, very busy outpatient clinic, very comprehensive counseling service, a full service pharmacy, as well as a health education program. We maintain a patient-centered philosophy, and we have a very strong commitment to quality. We're staffed by highly trained, board-certified physicians, nurse practitioners, psychiatrists, nurses, medical assistants, psychologists, counselors, social workers, as well as licensed pharmacists. We're accredited by the American Association of Ambulatory Healthcare on the medical side, and the Counseling Center is accredited by the International Association of Counseling Services. And just to give you some perspective, less than 35% of student health services, college student health services, are able to achieve accreditation through AAAHC. Since the pandemic, and to ensure the health and safety of our students, we had to implement several new and safer ways to provide care for all of you. This included the introduction of telemedicine on the medical side and teletherapy through counseling. Online programming for all of our stress reduction programs are completely online. And we also implemented curbside and mail delivery of our pharmaceuticals. We still do provide medical care on site, because there are just some procedures and services that can only be done in person. And these include immunotherapy, which we will continue to provide, a variety of different medical procedures, immunizations, testing, specimen collection, comprehensive physical exams, and a variety of other services that can only be done in person. Of course, our pharmacy has been and will continue to be open to walk-ins as well. However, to ensure the health and safety of our staff as well as our students, appointments must be scheduled in advance for medical care. At this time, we will no longer accept unscheduled walk-in services. If you feel the need to receive any type of medical care, or you just have a question about your own medical condition, please call the Student Health Service and a nurse will assist you with scheduling either an in-person visit or a telemedicine visit, depending upon the need of your condition. Also, for convenience as well as safety, all required forms, including consent forms, are now available all online, and these can be completed before your appointment. I think we can all agree that we're living in very challenging and concerning times. However, I strongly believe, as well as my staff, that by supporting one another, we can reduce the risk of spread on our campus and have a successful semester. We have an obligation to not only protect ourselves, but also one another. And we can do this by knowing the facts about this disease and implementing safety mitigation measures at all times. First of all, know how the virus spreads. The university has created a number of different very effective resources online where you could educate yourself further. And some of that information will be shared with you following this presentation. And let's be very frank, the best way to prevent an illness is to avoid being exposed in the first place. And we can do this a variety of different ways. One is to wear a mask. We know that this is a respiratory virus, and the spread of the virus can certainly be reduced by wearing a mask. When you arrive on campus, you will be given 2 pit-themed masks. Please do wear them. Another way to avoid possible infection is to avoid close contact with others. I think you've heard this many times already. You also have to keep in mind that many people can be infected and be asymptomatic. So it's important that you do keep your distance, and it is recommended that you keep at least 6 feet of distance from one another, and that's approximately 2 arms lengths. And also, you want to practice good personal hygiene. Wash your hands and do so often. You will find also when you return to campus that there are sanitation stations that have been positioned in multiple locations throughout campus. Please take advantage of this. And probably most importantly is it's important that you take charge of your own health. Monitor your health daily. Know the symptoms and be alert of any changes that you may experience, whether it be a fever, any type of cough, shortness of breath, a new change in taste or smell. If you're experiencing any of these conditions, please call us at the Student Health Service, and we will be able to provide some counsel as well as care for you. And again, you want to stay in your room and call the Student Health Service, and we will provide assistance. And just one other little piece of information I want to provide. I'm sure you have many, many questions regarding not only this current condition, but also about your own personal health and some of the services we provide. Don't hesitate to reach out to us. Our information will be provided at the end of this presentation, or just call me personally. I'll be happy to have a conversation with you. Thanks, and good luck this semester.
Thanks so much, Marian. And our last panelist this morning, who is going to talk to us a little bit about COVID-19 and some testing approaches, is Dr. Elise Martin, our Associate Medical Director for Infection Prevention and Hospital Epidemiology at UPMC. Dr. Martin?
Hi, thank you guys so much for having me. I really just want to start by echoing everything Marian said. I think is really, really important about these safety measures and all the work the university is doing. I'm a member of the COVID Medical Response Office, And what we're specifically doing is all the additional pieces that we can to try to make campus as safe as possible. One of the things that we're doing is surveillance testing. And many of you may have heard recently about surveillance testing or received email messaging about surveillance testing. And I just want to give you a little bit more information about what that is and how we're going to do that on campus. So the whole goal of surveillance testing is to figure out approximately how many students actually have COVID-19 on our campus, or what we call the prevalence. We worked really closely with the Graduate School of Public Health to figure out about how many students will we really need to test in order to get an accurate idea of how many students have COVID-19 and are potentially asymptomatic or not have any symptoms when they arrive. We're going to be testing somewhere around 10% of the population, at least on the first round of testing. And we're going to do this as students are moving into the dorms in the phased approach. So many of you will receive information saying that you have been selected to do testing. And the way that we're selecting students is at random, of course, but in addition, we're going to try to make sure we get a sample that includes people local to the Pittsburgh area, throughout the state, throughout the country, as well as some international students to get a really good gauge of the mix on our campus. When you do get notified, you'll be set up with time to come in and get testing. We've set up an outdoor testing facility that's designed to be very safe. We're using all the public health safety measures to social distance and allow us to get the information we need without putting health at risk. Some of you guys might be concerned about testing, especially if you've seen imaging on the news or other sources about testing being scary or potentially painful. The way that we're going to approach testing here is self-swabbing your nose, not doing a full nasopharyngeal swab. It's very effective. It can give us the information we need, but actually do it in a way that's much less painful and much less scary. And we're going to have people on site to help walk you through the entire process and answer your questions as you do this. Some of you guys may be wondering why we aren't testing everyone. There's a couple of reasons why we're doing this. First, it's not recommended by the CDC to test all of our students. This is for a couple of different reasons. One is there's a limited testing capacity in our nation. And so we do want to be that and make sure that there's always going to be enough testing for anyone who has symptoms, because already you've probably heard there are long wait times for people who have symptoms to get the tests they need. Additionally, we don't necessarily feel like if we test everyone, that's going to give us a clue about the people who are negative. It's still possible that you may have been exposed to COVID-19, and even if you test negative, it is possible for you to develop symptoms later on. So we're not going to be able to necessarily test everyone and identify everyone who has it, because you could develop symptoms later. So at this point, we're going to be, like I said, you'll be receiving messaging if you've been selected to do testing, as well as some directions on how to do that. And then again, we want to make sure that you're taking all the appropriate public health measures, regardless of whether or not you test negative or are not selected, because it's really going to be all of our duty here on campus to follow all the important public health measures about mask wearing, washing our hands, social distancing, and staying safe to make sure we all get to have a really wonderful semester. Thank you.
Great. Thank you so much, Dr. Martin. And before we go into some questions and answers, I want to turn it back over to Dr. Spears to talk a little bit about our approach to academics for this fall semester. Julia?
Thanks. Now I'm not flustered because I have my notes. So just wanted to let you all know there's going to be a Pittwire story that's coming out today. And the registrar's office, along with Pitt IT and the Office of the Provost, has been working diligently all summer to reschedule classes, make sure they're in the appropriate classrooms to account for social distancing. And I want to encourage all students to check their schedules, because we have also added time between courses to increase the passing time. So every class should have at least 15 minutes between the passing time to help students get in and out of the classroom safely, to account for social distancing, also to account for any cleaning and other kind of measures as classrooms are turning over. So please check your schedule, go into PeopleSoft. For some classes in the morning, it might mean starting, if you have an 8 o'clock class, it might mean starting 10 minutes earlier. But for an evening class, no more than 30 minutes later. So Pitt IT did a great job of trying to maintain as close to what your scheduled class time was, while also accounting for the additional time. So I want to encourage you to go in and make sure that you check your schedule for that. One, for the time, but then also for the location. For some of those classes, they might have changed the location or classroom assignments depending upon just enrollments. In addition, I did mention that those infographics will be live. They're currently live on the Provost website, and I put a link into the Q&A. There was a couple of questions around study labs and safe spaces. That's still in the works, trying to get a list of places where students can go to study, whether they're doing their courses entirely virtually or remotely. Right now, I know for sure that the Hillman Library does have spaces, and their website is available for you to look at the hours. In addition, the only computer lab that I know that is currently operating is in the Hillman Library. So the computer lab is open as well. And that's all I have.
Great. Thank you so much, Julia. And thanks to all of our panelists for a lot of that great information. We do have a few questions that came in that we will certainly take now. And the first one is going to be for Dr. Martin. And the question is, does Pitt have a protocol and approach in place for when a student tests positive for COVID-19?
We do. We've actually worked extensively across campus with basically all major sectors of campus to come up with a way that we can identify students. And then once we do, get them into appropriate medical care, and then as appropriate, get them either isolated or quarantined. So you guys will be getting messaging this week on a lot of the details surrounding this. But in general, if we have a student that either has symptoms of COVID-19 or tests positive for COVID-19, we actually have a way of getting them moved into an isolation facility outside of their dorms, where they can then go on and protect themselves from spreading the virus to anybody else. In addition, they're also going to be able to get all the resources they need. They'll have food and stuff delivered to them specifically. The locations that we've set up also have all the other basic needs. We'll be able to meet all those other basic needs. In addition, students will be able to continue taking their classes if they're medically able, and able to continue that using Flex and Pitt Online as well. We really do want to make sure that we identify those students appropriately. And then they also may have contacts, their roommates, their other people in their pod, or other people they interact with on campus. We have a fantastic contact tracing team here that will help identify anybody that they came in contact with and get them appropriately quarantined as well, to try to keep our campus as safe as possible. It is also possible if a student wants to do isolation from home with their permanent residence, that may also be an option as well for students if they would prefer that location.
Great. Thanks so much, Dr. Martin. A couple questions regarding dining. So I'm going to pitch these over to Joe. The first question, and we've got this every session, so it's good to share it with everybody. Can you talk about our approach with the to-go meals specific to students who have allergies?
Yeah, thanks, Brian. So any student who does have allergies, I would recommend that you please reach out to myself. We also have 2 full-time registered dietitians on campus just with the dining program. So I will be getting you in contact with Kristen Grover, who's the registered dietitian for dining with Compass. You can always find those resources on the dineoncampus.com/Pitt website, where Kristen's email address will be there. Mine will be given at the conclusion of this town hall. But yes, please reach out. We do have we have a allergy-friendly dining program called Flourish, which is free of the 8 major allergens and gluten. And so we are going live with that as of tomorrow. But we also want to make sure that that your student knows exactly, which ingredients are in each meal, which is available online as well. So please reach out to me directly. Please reach out to Kristen, and we can make sure that those resources are shared.
Great. And the second question, Joe, is just kind of a general question about the types of meals. Are these going to be hot meals? Are they just going to be grab and go sandwiches and things like that? I think people just want to kind of get a feel for what their sons and daughters and their students are going to be working with.
Yeah, the answer is yes. No, so both, right? Even with the to-go, even when we are in the risk posture where all of our meals are to go, what we're going to be doing is this is all made to order. As the student comes through the line, they'll be making and getting which meal they would like and then taking that to go. But there are also going to be a number of sandwiches, salads, wraps, and some cold meals that could be heated at home that'll be part of the meal plan if a student is more comfortable taking them back to their residence and having them there. So we want to make sure that all of these options are available, Brian, including all of our retail outlets. So you could go and use your meal at Einstein Bagels if you wanted to, go get a bagel, a schmear, and a coffee, and then take that back to your residence. We want to be as portable as possible, make sure that we're meeting all the student needs, but also still make sure that we are meeting Marianne and Dr. Martin's expectations of safety as well.
Great. Thanks so much, Joe. We have a couple questions about move-in, so I'm going to call on Kathleen. The first would be, can you discuss the elevator guidelines during move-in and how that will be handled?
You're muted, Kathleen.
Man, happens at least once a day in these meetings, right? Each of the elevators are a little bit different based on their size, right? So when you approach the elevator, you will see instructions, stickers on the floor about where to sit or where to stand and where not to. We are disinfecting the elevators regularly, so you will see staff there to do that, but you're just going to need to pay attention when you arrive at a specific elevator and follow the instructions that are posted.
Great. Thanks, Kathleen. We got a question about specific room types and the type of furniture that is contained in each room. And I know we have that information out there, so I thought it might be good if you share with everybody where they can find that information.
Yeah, if you go on the Panther Central website, pc.pitt.edu, and you click through, you'll find there's a kind of, we call them a one-pager, if you will, about each of the residence halls. The hotels are included. It's not going to drill down to the most specific level, but you will get a general understanding of what kind of bed type is there, which is important for sheets. Basically, all of the hotels will have university furniture, right? So we've removed the hotel furniture and replaced that with what you would find typically in a Towers room. So a desk, an armoire, a bed, and a dresser, set of dresser drawers, right? So I'm sorry we don't have the ability to kind of get more drilled down specific in that, but you will find that standard residence hall room there as well. Someone asked about dimensions. Again, they're all a little bit different, so we don't have exact dimensions for you all. Sometimes the hotel website might be helpful as well if you want to go there. I didn't know which hotel exactly. The one question, they didn't say which one they were in, but yeah, and again, just be flexible. Again, we have done our best to maximize the space there, use what was given in the hotels in terms of closets if possible, but make sure that we had enough accommodations for the students that were going to be there.
Great. Thanks, Kathleen. Two more questions for move-in. Can you just talk a little bit in generality about the move-in process, the use of parents or whomever is going to come with them, the fact that it's one person, how the wristband will work, can they pass it between people, et cetera. So if you could just kind of do a quick overview of that, that'd be great.
Sure. It is our recommendation that we do not pass off wristbands. Again, we are trying to minimize the number of people, right, that come into the space. And I know that that's not the answer that parents want to hear. I understand that. I really do. Again, you all are going to have some choices about how you want to manage that on your own, but I can tell you our recommendation is that you would identify who is going to be the helper. I saw the comment about 1 hour to unload. So, right, our goal was that you would pull into the unloading area, you would be able to unload within an hour. And then after that, you can move your car to long-term parking. You know, if that helper wants to go back up and help make the bed, those types of things, that's fine as well.
Great. And then the last question right now for you in your area, Kathleen, is can you talk just a little bit about the pod approach, how that's going to work and what that means for students and their families?
Sure. The pod approach is basically, you know, again, if you're moving into a hotel or a suite style accommodation where, you know, a group of students kind of are behind a suite door, an apartment door, and share a bathroom within there, that will be their pod, right? And so the idea is within that pod, that's who you'll spend most of your shelter in place with, and, you know, be able to then be with those folks. And then when you're outside of that pod is when you would take your maximum precautions when it comes to masking and physical distancing. If you're in a common bathroom space, my understanding is that they created pods of 4 to 6 people, kind of identify who you would be able to walk to meals with, those types of things, and that you would spend your shelter in place week with those folks as well. I'm sorry, I don't have much more information than that. Unfortunately, that wasn't actually our area, but that's what I know about the pods.
No problem. That was very, very helpful, Kathleen. This is a question for Marion, not necessarily specific to the pandemic, but some general health information, which I think is important. Do any of the following forms need to be submitted to the school versus kept with parents? HIPAA authorization forms, healthcare power of attorney, general durable power, those types of things as they think about their students' medical care arriving on campus?
Sure, Brian. All of those forms can be submitted to us, including our immunization records. And that's probably something that I would really like to impress. Please get your immunization records to us as soon as possible. But all other forms, whether it be a medical history, if you're currently under care and you need to transfer that medical care to us, a variety of different medications you may be on, certainly share that information with us. It can be faxed to us. That information will be shared, or you can email it as well. So yes, all of those forms, please do submit them to us. And just one other little thing about the HIPAA compliance related issues. Just wanted to impress on everybody the importance of confidentiality in the services that we provide, that just because a particular form may be submitted to us, we will respect the privacy and confidentiality of all of our students. Information that is obtained and treatments provided and the care that we provide in the Wellness Center is never shared with anybody without the explicit approval, written approval by our students.
Great, thank you, Marion. This question is for Dr. Spears. When should students expect professors to reach out about class strategies, Zoom, et cetera, those pieces of information?
I would say give it until the first day of the class, like when your courses begin. For most of the faculty, just like you, who you realize your schedule may have shifted or the classroom may have shifted, they're getting that same information right now. So they're having to adapt their content accordingly. I would encourage you also to make sure that you are signing into Canvas and using full functionality of all the tools, the student technology resources that we have at your avail. So make sure that you are signing in to Canvas, that you're looking at the course web, and that you are kind of taking advantage of that. Now, if you do not hear from your instructor and you still have questions, feel free to reach out to them. You know, a lot of the faculty know that they're going to have to over communicate as the Flex at Pitt model is implemented. So we recognize that some students may start out in person and then decide to shift remote or vice versa. And, you know, it's flexible. So we realize that the information has to live on the web. So all of the courses and the course information should be available in the Canvas.
That's great. Thank you so much. This question is for Dr. Martin. The question is, do you recommend providing a COVID-19 kit for the student if they need to isolate? And if yes, what should be included in that kit?
This is a great question. I think a lot of people are wondering, should we bring medical things to campus? We actually have prepared medical kits. So if we do have someone go into isolation and they do have symptoms, in coordination with student health, they've actually developed some kits that include things like thermometers, masks, gloves, hand sanitizer, ibuprofen, acetaminophen, lozenges, as well as some basic medical information about COVID-19 and keeping safe, and a temperature log and a log where we can actually log symptoms during that period to find out when the student has gotten better and then could potentially come out of isolation. I think it's still reasonable to bring some of these things. If you have things like thermometers, I think that's a good thing to bring to campus anyway, because if you are having symptoms, it's good for the student to be able to check and see if they do have a fever before potentially going to class. So I think bringing some of these items would be reasonable if you have them available, but I wouldn't stress if you cannot obtain them, because we will be able to provide them for the students who are in isolation.
Great, thanks so much. We've had a couple questions about contact information for these service areas. I just wanted to let you know that we will be sure to be sharing that at the end so that all of the participants know exactly how to get in touch with the appropriate service areas on campus. This question is actually for Brianne regarding Welcome Week. If some of the required Welcome Week activities occur at the same time as a class, how should students be handling that to get the information?
Thanks. All of the Welcome Week sessions, the required sessions, will be recorded and they will be posted on the Office of New Student Programs website. So if you do have class, class should come first, and then you can get that information from the Office of New Student Programs website. Thank you.
Great, and this is a question regarding campus recreation for Jill. So obviously once the semester gets started, there may be some changing scenarios for the institution. So can you just talk about a little bit about how we're approaching campus recreation? Are we thinking of socially distanced group classes? Are there going to be opportunities for students in that way? And just let the audience know what we're thinking at this time.
Yeah, great question. So initially, from the standpoint of the facilities being open, they'll be open and we'll be observing all the social distancing requirements. So for example, if there's a line of treadmills, people might work out on one and leave one or two vacant before there's another person to ensure we've got that distancing that we need. And similarly in programs, we'll have people spread out. So like normally where a group exercise class might be able to have 30 people, in this case, we maybe only will have 12 in it. So then as the postures change, if something happens, probably one of the key things to be aware of is that we'll be trying to offer some virtual programs. Over the summer and last spring, we offered a variety of group exercise virtual programs. And then we also offered our eSports program for the first time. So we'll be monitoring what those postures are and doing our best to keep students informed, and particularly club sports as well, so that they're aware of what the changes are and what modifications they may need to make, and then how we can still support them in their health and wellness while they're at home or social distancing from others.
Great, thanks so much. This is a question for Joe. Can you talk about dining facilities, generally when they're going to be open? Will they all be open at the same time? Can you just talk a little bit about our campus approach to that?
Yeah, absolutely, Brian. So for the quarantine period up through September 4th, that's under the Welcome Week page on the dineoncampus.com/pit. But I will say that yes, so the eatery, formerly known as Market Central, and the Perch, and the the food hall at Residence Inn on Bigelow, all open tomorrow and will be open for all 3 meals. The hub at Posvar Patio is going to be opening next week. As everybody knows, we've really, kind of staged out the arrival schedule to be appropriate there. So you can see when every location opens. If you want to visit that website, if you have specific questions about any location, feel free to reach out to me. But yeah, we're ready to go live, Brian. We're excited about it.
Great, thanks so much, Joe. This is a question for Dr. Spears, and if you could talk a little bit about Flex at Pitt, specific to what happens if a student is scheduled to move in while a class is taking place.
Mm-hmm. That's come up quite a bit. And just to reiterate, all of the courses, faculty have had to create content where it's available asynchronously, meaning not at the same time, so that students can come back to content, lectures or assignments, and get the information that they need. So if you have to move in, you obviously have to move in, you can come back at a later time and get the materials that you missed. In addition, since my mic is off, I'll just answer the question. I don't know if you're going to pose it to me. Someone just asked around whether or not we're in elevated risk posture. And I don't see the question right now. What's happening with classes? Is that right, Brian?
Yeah, what's our approach to starting classes and in the posture that we're in, et cetera?
You're absolutely right. We are in elevated risk posture. And what that means, based on the guidance according to the operational postures that the university has set forth, is that if a class is over 25 people then we are not allowed to gather in person, right? So that course would be delivered in the remote fashion until the operational postures of the university would shift to a guarded risk posture, in which case then courses would resume in person so that we can account for the social distancing needed to keep everyone safe. So, so just keep checking back to the coronavirus.pitt.edu page. That's where the most up-to-date information of the operational postures of the university will be posted.
Great. And this is one more follow-up question for you, Julia, and I'll have you start and then I'll talk from a student service delivery standpoint. Well, in this environment, will there be opportunities for our students to get to know and meet their academic advisors? How can they reach out, et cetera?
Mm-hmm. Right now, all students should have downloaded the Navigate app, which is how you schedule an appointment with your academic advisor through our online platform called Pathways. And we encourage all of students to reach out to their academic advisors. Academic advisors are available likely for now, not in person, but certainly for remote and video chats and calls. They have been really responsive, trying to, again, move. As we in the provost office move the schedules, it has a trickle down effect of all the people that need to then be involved with students to ensure that they have the best schedule possible. So please reach out to your academic advisors using the Navigate app. The appointments get all scheduled, and if you're having difficulty though, you can always reach out to our office. We're happy to help you. And I know you're going to give out contact information at the end.
Yes, great. Thank you, Julia. And one other piece from a student service delivery standpoint, we've worked very, very hard to be able to operate in this environment. And so, we will be utilizing technology, and most of our services are going to be able to be delivered in the exact same way. Your student is going to be able to, meet with a career advisor online. We've done the same thing with our, some of our medical appointments and counseling services. And so that one-on-one interaction and that high touch that your student would ordinarily get is still going to certainly be the same way. Just one more question before we do some wrap up, and it's good for people to be thinking ahead. And I'm going to pitch it to Kathleen. And if we don't know the answer yet at this point, that's okay. But when students go home in November, will they be able to leave their belongings in their residence hall room in this environment, or will they need to prepare for something different?
As of now, they will be able to leave everything there just as you would on a normal break. Again, this is going to be a longer break, so you're not going to be able to access your space. So please take home anything that you think you would need between the end of the fall term and the beginning of the spring term. But we shouldn't have any problems there. We'll give you guidance as we get closer about making sure you don't leave any perishable food items, those types of things. But it's great to go ahead and just, that you're not going to use a particular pair of shoes. Just go ahead and leave them.
That's great. Thanks so much, Kathleen. That is about all of the time that we have for this morning. I would like to thank all of our panelists for their time this morning and for sharing all the information from their area. For those questions that we did not get to, or for those that were more individualized and nuanced in nature and that pertain to your unique situation, please feel free to reach out to the appropriate service area. At the conclusion of this session, we will be emailing all attendees with key contact information so that you can be in touch with that service area. We want to thank you all so much for attending, and we look forward to seeing you on campus very soon. And as always, hail to Pitt.